Okay, I think while we're waiting, I'll at least do I'll just welcome everyone. Uh, welcome to the four parents who are joining. Well, Deepa is also a parent, so welcome to all the parents who are joining us. And so my name is Ramya Modukuri, and I don't know if all of you on the call are already part of our WhatsApp community, but if not, then I will put a link in the chat box. So if you're interested, you can join. We will never automatically, throw you into some WhatsApp group you don't want to be part of. So only if you're willing. But Guiding Teens really is a non-commercial, not-for-profit, community-first space because over the years, my partner Sapna and I, we are both school counselors, and what we've seen over the last decade is this industry around college and career counseling in India has really exploded, and along with it comes a lot of FOMO and a lot of pressure for to get parents to part with their money to, in the in by selling them all these services that really honestly like it's it's debatable whether it's needed or not. So our aim is to really try and give you as unbiased an advice as and at least non-commercial advice, right? Like we are not in it. We're not. There's no commercials in getting any of these universities in. There is no money being taken from any of the recommendations we make. None of that. So we hope you're getting some benefit out of it. And we're so thankful to our parent volunteers. I think Varsha, Rich, and Deepa, I think we're all here today. We're running this series for us. So thank you so much, Deepa, for taking time out and doing this today. With that, I'll hand it over to you and welcome everyone. Thank you, Mr. Deepu, for being with us here today. We really appreciate it. So over to you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ramya. Absolutely grateful for the Guiding Teens community and the amount of information and unbiased views that you get. Right now, unbiased views are a treasure. Mr. Deepu, we would love to hear from you about BITS law itself. Legal as a career option seems to be kicking up among the parents. We've seen a lot of interest in the WhatsApp community about it as well. We'd love to hear from you about your university overall, a little bit about the legal thing too for parents to think and keep in mind as they help their teenage children make choices. Over to you. For the parents who are here, please keep the questions coming. The chat window will always remain open. You could raise your hand as well, and we'd love to have your questions through the session. Over to you, Mr. Deepak.
Okay, great. So the session should be more about the legal education and less about BITS law. Let me let me be very clear about it because we are facing a situation. I'll tell you, I have been a student of law. I practiced, as in I was lucky enough to get a corporate placement, and I was a corporate lawyer for quite a good time. And then during that time, I was a co-founder of one of the CLAT preps. So I started preparing students who are preparing for law. Okay, so I'll tell you why I'm telling you all these things because it's going to be a full circle. And then I quit my corporate law designation and I joined this law prep full time. And I was the one who used to go around the country and encourage students of various disciplines to do law, telling them about the various options about law. And there were kids who were doing medicine, engineering, who all of a sudden realized that, okay, this is what I want to do law. And then I quit it and then I went into university teaching and then I started taking care of admissions. It was a good run. And initially, the law schools, the way they used to test students before CLAT, I'm saying, I hope all of you know about CLAT. It's Common Law Admission Test. It's a single examination through which students go for, and they go for this entrance examination and then they get selected to national law schools. So before that, before CLAT, every law school had its own entrance examination. And when this entrance examination was there, every law school had the liberty to create their own kind of entrance process. So when they were creating this own kind of entrance process, somewhere I was one of those students who was tortured by these law schools because we had to prepare as per the pattern that they had. And I was very unhappy the way it was happening. The most torturous was NLS Bangalore because NLS Bangalore, the examination pattern, I'll tell you how it was. It was 50% objective and 50% subjective. That means students had to write. Now, it was, the pain of giving this examination doesn't end here. And I'll tell you more further. Your 50% objective, out of that, your 50% should be correct for your subjective to be even checked. That means there was many students who were not able to score more than 50% in the objective kind of questions whose subjective was never even checked. So it was that difficult. Now in the subjective, what are they going to ask you? So today in CLAT, we have a question pattern. If parents have taken a look at the question paper of CLAT, you will understand. The students are given a principle of law, and then they are given a set of hypothetical facts like A, B killed him, blah, blah, blah. And then they are asked objective questions A, B, C, D. During our time, the questions were principle, facts, and then we were asked to write brief for both the parties. That means the appellant as well as the one who is the respondent. That means the one who is injured and the one who is accused of injuring this person. Now, this was a difficult task. 2.5 hours, do the objective, try to score more than 50%, come to the subjective, write for both the parties. Now, I'll tell you, the pain did not end here also. They wanted us to write this within 40 words. That means you have to write for one party in 40 words. Now, the pain did not end here also. There was strict instruction that if it goes beyond 40 words, they're going to deduct our marks. So in 2.5 hours, we had to do those objective questions, come to the subjective, make sure we write 40 and not 41 words, think logically. So, it was too much of a kind of a torture or too much appalling for us. So when I came out of though the question papers were already there, the past year papers and all I have already seen, but I was, what is this question paper? And then CLAT came. Okay? As in when I graduated, when we founded this law prep, and then I started teaching, CLAT came in around, I think it was around 2009 or 2010 CLAT came. And we all thought it's good because there's a single examination for all law schools. But I think that's exactly where we got everything wrong. Because the problem is, if you ask me today what built NLS Bangalore, if you go and meet anyone from the first batch of NLS Bangalore, they would tell you that it was that entrance examination. Because entrance examination was a great, not just a filter, but a great rendezvous for the students with the 5 years of life they're going to spend in law school. Because law is not just about OMR sheets. Law is about interpreting. Law is about comprehension. Law is about quick thinking. Law is about critical reasoning. And the entrance exam, which probably NLS Bangalore came out with and was testing students and was kind of followed by NUJS Kolkata, Nalsar, they all had different patterns, but they had, subjective. They were used to make students write something. And if you ask me, that's what made NLS Bangalore. Today, when I have started teaching, today when I have headed almost, uh, the admission process of so many law schools, I have started meeting students inside law school who did law because of many fancy reasons, if you ask me. Someone was very impressed by Harvey Specter of Suits. Someone saw the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard divorce, and they were very impressed. They wanted to be like Madame Vasquez. So, but the moment they step into law school, 3 months, they realize, my goodness, law is not about just arguing. Law is not just about that glamorous life. Law is about logic. Law is about literature. Your English has to be good. When I say English, I often say this, it should be the Barack Obama English and not the Donald Trump English. That means it should have proper grammar. You should be grammatically very, because one line you write can save crores of rupees for a client and at times even land him in jail and at times lose his life also. So that's the moral responsibility and also the professional expertise which is required out of a law student. And by the time a student realizes this, it is already the third year. And then he starts wondering, can I take an exit? But if he takes an exit, it's too late because law will not give you a BA degree and say, okay, you can exit. You either take the whole journey of 5 years, take a BLLB and then get out, or else you get nothing. And that is where today my focus. So long back in the year 2007-8, where I used to go and tell students, think about law. Today I am saying, think about law, but if you have these skills. And believe me, schools do teach you these skills. But somewhere the students nowadays are not able to see these things. So I remember my English professor, as an English teacher during the school, she was very clear about the grammar is the bread and butter. You should stick to grammar, etc. But I remember post 10th, when we stepped into 11th standard, there was not much focus which was given. It was more about you write and you get it, right? But then if you really want to do law, a message to all the parents, and if the students are attending, please make sure you follow those grammar and take it to law school, because amongst undergrad institutions in this country, probably law schools are the only schools where the professor is going to check your grammar even in the answer script, and they're going to cut your marks. You will go fight with them. I did that, so I'll tell you. You will go fight with them and say, see, this is the same thing written by me and him. Why did you deduct my marks? And then Pat comes the answer. He'll pick up your answer script and then he'll read out your answer script and he'll give six interpretations out of you have written. And then he'll ask you, what did you mean? And that's quite embarrassing. And that happened with me. So, that was my lesson when I went to law school, that goodness, you need to be very firm, because law, if you ask me, is something which should not have any kind of ambiguity. For example, let me give you the current context. The students are protesting, they have a right to protest. It's a constitutional right to go and protest peacefully. The due process of law is the state should make enough facilities for them to protest, but there are certain reasonable restrictions as per the constitution which are to be maintained. One of which is you cannot march towards the place which is called as parliament because of n number of reasons. There can be security threat to the state, n number. That's why lawyers, if you see, are very silent in this. Rather, they are going to the court and they are pressing for it, that you cannot lathi charge students at Jantar Mantar. If they are proceeding towards you, it comes under reasonable restriction. And what are you doing? You are directly lathi charging. You cannot do that. The due process of law, as it is written, has to be followed. So they are fighting with the word of law. So what is more important? The word of law. And this is one message which students have to be very clear, because quite sadly, neither CLAT coachings nor the examination called as CLAT is passing on this message. And I have been very vocal about it. I have even, most of the vice chancellors today of national law schools are the ones who taught me in my law school. They have all been promoted and now they are there. So when I meet them, I also tell them that, sir, let's take a step ahead and do something like this. But then they are like 60,000 plus students. How can we do that? It's very difficult to get someone to check. So
This
now
is really, really, really helpful, Mr. Deepu. So what we're hearing you say is, be very sure about
yes,
the work involved in law, and be very sure that that is what
absolutely.
you love. The glamour is just like in most professions, the glamour is 2%
Glamour is
of
everywhere
what
there.
you will.
I have seen doctors also, they're so glamorous.
Yeah,
But then look at the
absolutely.
way they study. They also have to
Yeah,
study a lot. So
yeah.
that's something as a message which I want to pass to every parent, that look for it, because I'll tell you another experience, because our admission process is a bit different. Because when we were creating this, I already had, that's why I told you my entire story. Because by the time BITS Law School was taking shape, I had already faced a lot of coaching institutions who came to me and who said, our best student didn't get through the, and I was like, why? There's something happened in those 1.5 hours and he could not perform well. The center was not good, the fan was not functioning properly, blah, blah, blah. And then I feel sad. And I went back in time and I said, yeah, there were students during my time also. The NLS Bangalore paper didn't work out well for them. So these all feedbacks were in my mind. So at BITS Law School, what we have done is, and I'm very glad that BITS Pilani does all these things. They do a lot of research. So I want to tell you, Deepa ma'am, that what we do is, once a student gets selected, we do not just launch, as in once an admission season gets over, we do not just launch the admission season for the next. So we have already done with admissions right now, and that's exactly from where I'm coming. What we are doing is we sit and see the admission process performance of the students with their classroom performance. Are we doing justice to it or not? And now, what is our admission process? Let me introduce that to you. It's a two-tier process where we seek students' score from their 10th and 12th. While the Bar Council of India says 45% and above only, for doing law in this country. BITS Pilani has a research which they did with the MIT where they proved it. For any graduation degree which is more than 2 or 3 years, consistency in academics is very important. Otherwise, the student feels drained. The same goes for medicine also. So, what our idea was, a student who performs consistently in his or her 10th and 12th has a greater chance of surviving these 5 years. And believe me, I've been through those 5 years. Yes, it's emotionally consuming. It's very academically rigorous. You have to read. Though you are reading about human behavior, the way the world works, law, legal system, social justice, everything else, but it should interest you. So that kind of a consistency is very much required. That's why we are taking 10th and 12th scores also. The second parameter which we consider is extracurriculars. Very important to us. The reason is we don't want a student who has just studied. We also need students with some amount of extracurriculars who has done music, sports, whatever, even if they are academic pursuits like a debate competition, a MUN, nowadays we have moot courts also. So some amount of those things where the student also has certain things which adds to their application. And then comes the next part, which is any law entrance examination, nationally recognized law entrance examination. We took a lot of flack in the first year where many people came and said, "You're taking multiple scores. Why do you do that?" We are very clear that a student may have faced difficulty in one test. He may have faced difficulty in the second, but at the third time, at least he may perform, right? His scores may be valid. So what we are doing is we'll take the highest score. Now we'll club all these things, the 10th and 12th, extracurricular, and the law entrance examination. The cumulative should be higher than 50%. That means a student's score, if is higher than 50%, then we take the student to the next phase. And that next phase is something which is called as interaction with the faculty. So it's not an interview. The faculty is not there to judge the student's knowledge or something. And all this is online. The student can stay at home and do it. There are many students from boarding schools also who appear in our test, and they do it from their boarding classes also. So in the interaction, what happens? The student would appear online, the faculty would be there, they'll exchange pleasantries, there would be a hi, hello, and then the faculty would give one word. So this is a Yale system of doing things. The faculty would give one word to the student and 2 minutes to think, encapsulate your ideas. You can jot down them on a piece of paper and you can start speaking on it. Whatever the student is speaking, on that there will be a discussion. They'll start discussing about various things. The faculty is strictly instructed not to stress on knowledge, but only seek 3 C's, which is comprehension, clarity of thought, and then communication skill. On these 3 things, the faculty has to write. And to rule out bias, we do not give any info about the student to the faculty also. To which city he or she belongs to, which school they belong to, what is their academic background. All they know is the student has already been filtered. As in, they have gone through that parameter. And the faculty cannot ask them also, what was your 12th score? If the student talks about it, okay. But when this process is starting, it starts generally in September. So by that time, we have already created our. So the 12 scores generally are the expected ones with the school gives. I'll want to clear that also. Now the faculty has to score the student on these 3 C's, but they cannot just get away by writing digits there. They also have to write a para on the kit. For example, if Deepu was the one who appeared, they have to write, if they like, Deepu was very eloquent. He spoke about this. The one word was this. This is what we spoke about. And I think he is good for selection. They can write. And this score, clubbed with the previous scores, are all presented before admission committee, which is chaired by the Vice Chancellor of BITS Pilani, Professor Ram Gopal Rao. There are people from the Aditya Birla management who are in the pursuit of academics. We have professors who are in-house. We have the professors who are from outside also. They form the admission committee. I present them with all the scores. They realize a cutoff, which is generally 65%. We don't go below that. The students who scored above 65 are the ones who get offer from our side. And yet, there is a chance for students who are below 65. We keep the application open that you can give other entrance examinations also. Sadly, we only have 180 seats and we do not expect it to, increase because we have a campus which is very compact. It's in Mumbai. It's in 60 acres with all the amenities, but we are very clear that we are not going to increase. There is a purpose behind it because with these 180 students, we are creating something very different, a kind of a culture. It starts right from the first year. And one of those things which parents have now started talking about online is a culture where inside the classroom, when you enter, there is a blue box which is kept. So when a faculty enters, the faculty puts his phone there. And you won't believe it, it's voluntary. All other students also come and keep their phone there. And they all sit inside the class without laptops and without phones. They sit and they make notes. And that's a culture which we incorporated right from the first year. And that's something which is right. And somewhere it's this admission system which is given all the credit by everyone that we are not cherry picking students, but at least faculties are a part of our selection system where they also have a say. They have rejected some students also, believe me, because their score also plays an important part. We had someone in CLAT who was in the 200 ranks and he was rejected, and the admission committee called us out and said, if we want to see the video of the student, why did you reject? The student was kind of arrogant. His attitude was had to be kept in check because he did not even answer properly. He was giving a kind of attitude which the faculty thinks is not suited for his or her class. And that's what they wrote also. It's my personal feelings that he will not suit inside my class. So the admission committee also checked and they also believe that. So there is a check and balance even in the admission process also. So that's the entire thing, which I think is a change. And I have been a pioneer. I've been pushing even national law schools to do something different. And thankfully, NLS Bangalore has launched a new course, which is a BA, and they have deviated away from CLAT. Those seats they are not taking from, they have tweaked the entrance process. And somewhere the VC of NLS Bangalore, he is very, very happy with us. That's what my dean also keeps telling me, that he has created this process in such a manner which is in tow with what we are doing. So that's the admission process. And that's also a message to every parent here that check if these skills are there in your kid and only then push. If they're good at writing, if they're good at reading, if their critical thinking is good, if they have been in extracurriculars, which kind of, and believe me, most of the kids have these qualities today. And that's what if the students are doing that. So I have met a student, as in we were doing registration process, and there was this kid whom I asked that what do you do? He has already written articles in peer-reviewed journal. That was something which is surprising to me because I was in my second year when I did and he's just a 12th grader and he's so that's the entire process of it. Now if you ask me about careers in law, it has gone into such a situation where you name an industry and I can tell you what lawyers are doing there and what law students are doing there. So fashion, if you say, there was a time where Indian fashion designers were reluctant about getting copyrighted their, designs. Now they're getting design patents also. So there is a demand for lawyers even in fashion industry. Now, OTT, Bollywood, content on Instagram, everywhere you can see more and more work for lawyers is something which is, which is more pushed about, which is something which people more talk about nowadays. So this is something where you can ask me about a specific industry and I can tell you. Real estate, again, sports law. Uh, when the IPL is on, you can see so many contracts are getting written and rewritten after every match. Who is doing that? It's basically those students who are in the sports law. So, it's more, I would love to take it as a question and answer where we can, go ahead and I can speak about the career options when we talk about it. I think that's 30 minutes for me, which was assigned. And now we can start taking questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Deepu. We have the first question from Ms. Sangeeta, and she's requesting if you could please shed a little light on the accommodation arrangements in the BITS Law campus. You mentioned it was 60 acres. Just
Yeah. Yeah. So the accommodation arrangement in BITS Law is we have a two-tier bunk bed system for first-year students. There is no single accommodation for students, and that's quite intentional what we have done. Why we have done it is because there is a lot of complaint wherever I have worked that when in the first year the student is there, you cannot keep him or her alone. So that's how it begins. The first year, second year, third year. From the fourth year, we give students single accommodation where they have a single bed, and then There also there is an option where there is a single room and there is a room which is sharing, but the beds are, single and the student can adapt to it. So that's the accommodation part of it. I would rather say, why don't you visit the campus and you can come and see the campus, because the way it is created, the room size is a bit small, I have to tell you. And that's something which, as per us, the Birla management has done it intentionally because they want students to spend more of their time in outside their hostel rooms and not, inside the hostel.
Thank you. The second one is about just on the same line of hostel accommodation. What about the food? Laundry is a follow-up question that Ms.
Okay.
Sangeeta has. We'll just complete that and
Okay. So the facilities include the food is prepared by Taj Sats. They have different cafes inside the mess area where a student can have the buffet food. And in the food, what we have done from this year is there is a student council with which we keep talking to. The student council keeps giving us a lot of input, and their input was they did not want us to charge food for food with the fees with the hostel. They wanted accommodation separately because, as per them, many of them don't eat food from there but go to the cafes which are inside the and or else this is Zomato. So they wanted a system where TajSat comes out with a prepaid system, a card system. Whenever they want to eat, only then they should be, charged for. So we have come out with that system. There is an app called as GoKhana, to which they, their parents are able to put money into it. And the day they want to eat from the buffet, they can eat from the buffet. Or else there is something called as bowl corner where they have a continental bowl setup where they can go and eat those food. There is a juice corner also. There is a fasting corner also. There is a veg, non-veg separate section. There is Jain food. All these things are taken care of by the management. Laundry, the laundry system is where a certain set of rules for free clothes, around 30 clothes, I think, for a year. And then they start charging you for, and there is a separate area of washing machine. If you don't want to give it for community washing, you can use your own, there are washing machines which are installed. A student can himself or herself also can go ahead and do that. So we have a laundry inside the campus also. And
lovely.
there is medical facility also. Before anyone asks, we have an
Yeah.
infirmary, and the student can take use of those infirmary arrangements as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think you've put Sangeeta and many parents' mind to rest with that. On the next one, I'm going to pick up the question on scholarship. Are there scholarship available for deserving students? How does that work?
Yes. In fact, this year, out of 180 students that we have taken, there are around 72 students who are on scholarship. We have three types of scholarship. In fact, two types, two broad heads. One is endowment scholarship. There is non-endowment scholarship. Endowment scholarship we only give once the batch is formed. So these are given on the names of the Birla family. There is GD Birla scholarship, KK Birla scholarship, and Sarla Birla scholarship. GD Birla scholarship is 100% scholarship given to the topper in the entire entrance process. The student who scores the most, he gets 100% scholarship. Then we have KK Birla scholarship, which is 50% scholarship for two students. These can be male, female, as in they are the second highest score. And then there is Sarla Birla scholarship, which is specifically for girl students. Now, the situation in our law school is a bit funny because we have more number of girl students. So, this year also, the first batch has 90-10%. That was the ratio. And then it became 80-20. And this year, thankfully, it is 75. So it's reducing. But then, pun intended, the management once joked and said, we should remove Sarla Birla scholarship because there are more girls who are coming. We should have scholarship for boys now. So that's the situation. But something which I stress here is we have a lot of students from the southern part of India, and it has more to do with the security and safety inside the campus. Why more and more girl students are approaching the campus and they're more applying to us because Mumbai per se is safe. Let me tell you, I have lived in many parts of the country and it is one safe place. We are at the very outskirts of the city, which is, in outside Kalyan also, there is this area called as Kamba. But this place is heavily dominated by the Birlas because they have developed this place. They have their own industry, their own hospital here. So the second or third Birla Mandir is also here. That's exactly when Mr. G.D. Birla, found everything. So that's exactly where the campus is situated. So it's safe from all the sides. So that is one of the reasons why they do it. So these are endowment scholarship. Now comes no, the non-endowment scholarship, which is given away with the offer itself. This is merit scholarship. If you are a meritorious student who has scored really well, with the offer itself, you get scholarship. It starts from 75%, 50%, and 25%, depending upon your score. So there are students who score 90 to 95, 95 to yeah, 95 to 90, and then below it, 80, 85. That's how they have earmarked it. Then there is merit come means. So there are students who probably come from economically weaker background. All they have to do is to submit their 3 years ITR returns. And then once that is vetted, you with the offer letter, you get merit come means scholarship also. So that's something which the students are applying, and a lot of students are taking benefit also. The third is diversity scholarship. If you belong to diverse areas in India like Leh, Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, the northeastern states, so you do get scholarship from our law school. There's also in diversity scholarship, there's also one more wing, and that is for gender fluid students. So if there is a student who's gender fluid, we are ready to give scholarship to that student also, because it's a gender neutral campus totally 100%. So such students are also there inside the campus who are on scholarship, and we do encourage such students to apply also. But then you have to go through the entrance process and you have to prove yourself.
Thank you. Fee structure. That's a question. Would you want to take that, Mr. Deep?
It's there on the website. I'll give you a ballpark figure. It's 10.25 lakhs per annum. That's the fees. Yeah, it is inclusive of everything which I have told you here. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. There is one question on internship that I can see in the chat window, and the person, Richa, is saying internships are not very easy. Is that what you're experiencing it? How does BITS Law School help its students?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that question. It's a very important question because we get called out a lot about these things. What I'll do is I'll share the internship report also with you can send it to the parents. We are lucky enough to be associated with BITS Pilani, which has a wider network. They are not just lawyers. There are people who have founded the very recent AI, which is for lawyers, was founded by one of the BITS Pilani alumni. So their network is very, very sharp. And more than that, the reason why this law school was opened in Mumbai is Mr. Birla used to get a lot of push from the topmost law firms in Mumbai that they need more students in Mumbai and a law school in Mumbai. So the very idea was taken shape like this. Right now, you name a law firm in Mumbai, in India, top notch, the top five, our students are interning there. So, we do not boast about it. We do not advertise about it because that goes against the Birla philosophy. They do not do that. You will not find our ads also. The only thing is you go and check it out, our LinkedIn and where these postings are done. That also we do not boost. And the profiles of our students who are right now in the fourth year and the fifth year, there is already a PPO by the Axis Bank, which we are not promoting, has been given to one of our students. So, that's I would say, the faith which people have on BITS as a brand comes from the fact that many of these alumni, the way they have created the impact socially and economically also. I want you all to go and check out the latest Burun India's analysis about in the United States of America, amongst the expatriates who have been there and who are the owners of Unicorn, which institute do they belong to? The number one university, which is ranked above IIT Delhi and IIT Mumbai, is BITS Pilani. So that's the clout which US in US BITS Pilani has. And the kind of belongingness which this BITS alumni show towards the youngest campus, which is BITS Pilani Mumbai, is too good. And they were the ones who were very thrilled that they are doing something other than STEM education also. So we have design, we have management, which is only PG, and then law inside this campus. And this is one of the most pampered campuses by all these alumni networks also. So I'll tell you my own personal thing. I was in Hyderabad and I was addressing a group of parents where a parent asked a similar question. And there was this madam who was standing, who is a BITS Pilani alumni. Before I could answer, she started telling, and she was with the IT company. So she says, come on, I'll tell you. And then she opened up her WhatsApp group and she's like, see, we are asking for interns from their law school. And the answer was all the students are already, given internships, so we do not have any students left with us. So that's exactly how the industry interface is working. And if you ask me, we have an office which is not called as placement office; it's called as IICA, Industry Interface and Corporate Advancement Office. The work of this office is basically not just to get the student internship, but also to create an impact through mutual MOUs between these top law firms and our students. So if a law firm is facing any issue in terms of management, in terms of any problems, they bring it on board to the law school. The law school students research and they give it back to them. The students are trained via the partners of these law firms. They are all invited. They come to the campus and they train these kids. So that's exactly what we are doing inside with this office, and it is headed by Mr. Gaurav Shukla. He's also like me, ex-Jindal. He's just come from Jindal, and the way he has taken over, the office, it has been phenomenal. The moment he came, the first thing he said was the students here are too good. And then in the very first internship which he's handling, we already have three international internships which he has managed, two of which is in Malaysia. A firm from Malaysia has come all over to India and they're trying to get interns, and they have also promised us that they'll take at least one student as a placement. They'll be giving the PPO. So alumni is not something we are very worried about, if you ask us frankly, because our alumni are BITS Pilani alumni, if you ask me. And it's not a very true thing also, except for NLS Bangalore, where the alumni really are involved with the placement inside the campus and law school.
Thank you. I think that was very heartening to hear about how the children are being placed. There's one question here. Sangeeta, please clarify if I don't catch the question correctly. The placement outcome for graduating batch that opted for a three-year exit. So they didn't finish the full 5 years. They stepped out of 3 years. Is that something? Sangeeta, please clarify if I haven't caught it correctly.
Yeah, there is no 3-year exit for any student. I'm told that is available in the 5-year MBA program, the IPM program by IIM Indore and all others. But in law 5-year course, there is no exit which is given to the student. And that's what I was talking in the very first. It's a one-way highway. You only have exit after 5 years. If you drop out, you do not get any degree.
Yeah, and Sangeeta, I believe
Thank
this is how most integrated programs work, because it seems like the law integration, it's not like you finish your BA or BPA and then you
No.
start your law courses. The law courses start from year one itself, if
Yes,
I'm not
yes.
mistaken, and the integration is pretty deep. So, um,
Thank you for that. So just to
I had
follow
a
up,
point of clarity,
yes,
sorry, just a
yes,
quick
Ramya.
clarity. So, on your website, so it says founding class academic year 2023-24.
Yeah.
That's the year they entered, right? So they're in their
Yes.
first, you mentioned they're in their third year right
They are
now,
in
I
the
guess.
4th year. They've just
Finished
gone.
on, they're okay. Thank you. That's it. Please carry on.
To follow up to that question, what you're suggesting, if students are not very clear about 5 years and stuff, is it still an option where students do any other bachelor's and then opt for law? Is the master's option available or not?
Okay, so I'll give you an idea. There is a 3-year law which is available in this country, but not every institute is doing it very well. We do not have a 3-year course. OP Jindal has, and they do it very religiously. It's a great program. So is the Delhi University's 3-year program as well. I have not heard about any other. Oh, yes, NLS Bangalore has a very good 3-year program, much better than Jindal, I can tell you. Why? Because when I met one of the professors, he told me that they had a big doubt this time, and they were really, really very badly placed because their 3-year law had better placement than the 5-year program. So, and he told me that, I said, what are you saying? He said, yes, Deepu. And then he said the same thing, that the entrance process is in our hand. We are not taking via CLAT. I was like, oh, okay. So that is one option which a student can do the 3, but then the program becomes of 6 years. So the student has to invest 6 years. Or else they do graduation from this country and they do not want to be a lawyer, as in a practicing lawyer, then they can go to the European countries like Germany and France, where they can do LLM, which is of 1 year. But then that LLM cannot be a proper law LLM. It can be on subjects like financial law, economics, and environmental law. These are the kind of LLMs which are available because in Europe they treat law as social sciences. So if you come from any of the social sciences of graduation like economics, political science, etc., you can go and do LLM there also. But the acceptance of it in our country is a bit low. You can come back for academics though. That's something which is available. But then you cannot come and start practicing, or you cannot be treated as a lawyer in this country. So I know a quite of my friends who have done LLM from abroad, and they are not law graduates, but they are doing really good in academics.
Deepak, can I interrupt and ask a question now that you've
Absolutely.
brought it up? Sorry. So this is a question that comes up often, and I know on this group actually we have a couple of counselors who have joined as well. That what would you advise parents in terms of, especially that you've mentioned this whole uh, what is the portability of a law degree from India abroad and vice versa? Since you've been a practicing lawyer and have been in the space for so long, I know this is not the point of this topic today, so I thank everyone in advance. People can hang back and listen to the rest of this conversation. We're anyway recording it, but the I think the bits part of it we've like covered more or less. But this actually we wanted to do a whole other session on careers in law and some of these licensing. Like there's many industries where this licensing portability is a big question mark, right? Architecture, psychology, law, medicine, of course. So if you
I
could
will
shed some light on that. Yeah.
We do get a lot of questions on this. So I know I'll give you the answer which I have. Uh, See, portability for law is a major concern because the legal systems of or the law per se, the way it is written down, are different. But then we are having the Commonwealth Games, right? So these Commonwealth countries all follow a legal system which is called as common law. So the spine of all these laws are very similar. They're not different. So if a person from India, he goes to some of those European countries which follow the common law system, and he's a law graduate, he can get an LLM there and he can start doing some corporate level of research and work there, which includes research, which includes them to sit and do that desk job of research, because research is something which you can avoid in law. But when it comes to practice, it becomes difficult because for practicing, you should know the letter of law, for which you have to do the course from there also. And once you have done the course from there, you have to pass the bar exam there also. So in United States of America also, it's like very simple. You can get a JD there. You have to be a graduate from India. Once you have graduated from here, if you want to practice there, you have to go there, do their JD, pass the bar council exam, the bar exam, only then you become a lawyer. So in India also now we have a bar exam. Despite coming from any law school, you have to give the examination called as AIBE, which is All India Bar Exam. Only then you can start practicing in the court, which is actually not a very difficult kind of a examination in India per se. It's comparatively easy. But when you have studied in any other country, you can. And I know personally my students and my own batchmates who today are not just practicing in India, they can practice in some of the states in UK, and they are also practicing in Singapore. Some of them are practicing in US, but all of them have given the bar exams there and have also studied. So if you're asking about portability, they do not, welcome our degree. They do welcome our degree if you are going there for a PG. That's the most acceptable thing.
So the degree itself is valid as long as you can either you go for a PG or you clear the bar exam, right? Which would like in whatever country you go to.
Yes,
Am I
yes, yes.
getting
You
that
have
right?
to, if you want to practice, you have to clear the bar exam. If you
Correct.
want to go and work there on a corporate or a research level, you have to take a LLM in that specific field. You have to
Hmm.
show your skill. So it's more about skill that, it's more on drafting, policy making, etc. If you have that kind of a skill certificate, they do hire you. So there are a lot of people in Canada who are working in Canadian law of immigration, etc., who are Indians. And
Hmm.
now they have that certificate of immigration studies, which they have, and they are into immigration. They are challenging the migration issues which are currently happening. So that's one field of study which they are doing there.
And because also this is something we've heard from UK universities, especially because if you look at the Bar Council of India list of institutions that they recognize, it is like from UK, they only have some five, six names, right? And when we talk to our colleagues in admissions in the UK, they say, oh, because the BCI has made it so cumbersome to get this recognition that many of them find it's not worth it. So in that case, what happens? Let's say a student goes to one of these UK universities, does either an LLB or LLM, right? And then comes back. Can they like what do they do in India? Like can they sit for the AIBE?
No, 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 no. They cannot. They cannot.
They
They have
cannot,
to
right?
come and do
Yeah.
the
So
LLB, the 3 year LLB,
yes, they'll
and
have to
then they.
redo. Yeah.
That's
Okay. So
exactly what is the system in UK also. I cannot take a BA LLB honors from here and go and ask the UK that can I give the bar exam.
so you do have to do the
Even
LLM
if they
and then
allow
sit.
me, believe me, I will not be able to crack it. That's how it is. I
Yeah,
have
that is a different
yeah, I have
issue.
to
You know, there
and at
is.
least go through. Yeah, I can do LLM entrance process there. I can get a LLM. It's a very transparent system there. I can start my research. I can even research. I can do a comparative legal research on my country's laws with theirs. That's all permitted there. And then I can when I'm doing my LLM, I can pick a specific, say, investment banking. That is my research. So any investment banking firm can hire me also there because I'm not going to the court. I'm not doing that kind of a litigation. But then the
Hmm.
other work which I am meant to, I like policy making, etc. I am most welcome there. That's how it is.
Okay. Sorry, and I have one last question on this particular topic because sorry, Deepa, I know I've like completely like hogged up the airwaves here, but I know this is a doubt a lot of us have, so I'm not alone in this. So, and then lastly on this whole portability recognition, etc., right? What about things like international bodies? So let's say you aim to work for the ICJ or, one of these UN kind of, is it different? Is it like, because
It,
those are, I mean,
I
it's not governed. Yeah, you got it, the
Yeah,
question, I think.
I'll tell you. See,
So,
I'll give you real life examples of one of my senior, yeah, year man, and he was a feminist, right from the time I have seen her in my law school. And she did a lot of study and research. And when I was in the second year, one of the first ever international publications in an Oxford journal was by her. She had written a beautiful piece about feminist jurisprudence, about the mind of a woman and in war, how a woman's mind works. Her work became so famous that she got the first international, internship in UN Women, and she pursued it. And she had nothing. She never did any corporate internship, nothing. That is when we realized that a law student, when he reaches the third year, is the time when he also realizes what he's made for. His skills, what they are. And right from the first year, she had a calling. It was international law on which most of her projects, her submissions, her publications, the conferences that she attended. And then with pride, I'm telling you, she was one of those people who defended or prosecuted the men. If you remember, there was a case in Pakistan which happened where 12 men raped a woman, and there were no lawyers who were taking up that case. So she was one of those lawyers who were sent by UN Women to Pakistan to fight that case. And that's the inclination if kids have. But then if it is about international law, you have to understand even in international law there are various facets. There's again policy making, there is about child welfare, there is something about security, yeah, of nations, conflict of nations. What are you interested in? You have to pick it up. And if you are dead straight on it, and if you start working on it, your internships, your publications, if they are all aligned, and you show your inclination to the placement office, like in our case, they would help you to get it. But then,
yeah, that is from the standpoint of interest in getting in, point
hmm,
taken. But I'm saying more from an eligibility or like what are the technicalities, like in terms of recognition of an Indian law? Like, can you do a BA LLB from, let's say, BITS law and then apply for international law
yes, yes,
in the
absolutely.
UN? So, okay,
So
that's not an issue.
international bodies, they do not have such kind of reservations because
Okay, that
that
was
is
the
not,
question. Yeah.
yeah, that is not.
Mm.
I'll tell you, there are two things. There is private international law, which is about two members of two different states who are fighting against each other. And there is public international law, which is two countries having conflicts with each other. So you can be of any country, but if you work with a world body, you have studied enough where you understand the international law in terms of treaties and other things. So it's basically contractual relationship. So if you ask me, there is nothing called as international law. Being a student of law, I'm quite ashamed at saying this, but there is nothing called as international law. It's about how people consent at that given point. So right now, also, if you see India and Pakistan are fighting over Indus, and India has all of a sudden walked out of the treaty, what can people do? They are calling for arbitration from India. Also, there has to be someone who has to go. So that's the conflict where world bodies have a monitoring power, but they do not have such kind of a teeth. But then again, there are students who study these things and they can act as mediators, they can help resolve these issues. So that kind of work is much in demand and there are people who are doing it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to open it up to parents if there are any other questions that you would ask Mr. Deepu. Possibly the last question. We have taken a bit more of your time than we had planned for. Any last question from the parents here? I don't think so. I think, Mr. Deepu, you've really... Yes,
sorry.
there is one. Yes, Richa.
Yeah, I was typing and I thought it'll take longer to type, so I'll just probably
Yes,
ask.
please.
So, Mr. Deepu, you mentioned that you prefer students with some extracurricular activities, etc. So, and you also mentioned that the coursework is quite rigorous. So, would the students get enough time to continue pursuing their extracurricular activities once they are at campus, or how does that work?
Yes, absolutely. We have created special provisions for such students because I'll tell you, last year's endowment scholar, the GD Birla scholarship student who's on the first year, who's in the first year and who's studying on 100% scholarship is a national level gymnast. And what we have been made to believe is she's also India's Olympic hope, and she needs certain days of rigorous practice for which, seeing all these calibers of her, we have made arrangements where some of those classes which she is missing, the moment she gets back, she's also getting backup classes. So that kind of arrangement is something what we are doing inside the campus. Also, we have made arrangements so that student is not just studying but also doing others, because we have a lot of clubs and activities and studies also which are going on inside. But then, if you ask me, being a law student myself, I would say law is just like medicine. You have to study. You are a student of law. You remain a student of law. So I also had lots of hobbies which I still follow. I still do it. But to professionally carry it together at times becomes a bit difficult. Or else you combine both of them. Like one of my friend was too much into sports. His name is Bishan Jaswant. He's a junior of mine. I can name him also. You can go and Google him. He was too much into sports and sports analysis. So he had a plum job with a law firm, but all of a sudden his analysis was so good, he used to send it to ESPN also. ESPN called him once and they employed him. They said, "Why don't you come and do it with us?" And he left his job and he went and joined ESPN. So it's about, how do you comb these things? Like when I started, I also said, you name one industry, I'll tell you that law is something doing there, and is helping people resolve disputes or else to, synthesize those things also. So it's about how you want to follow these things also. But if you ask me per se, if I want to be a cricketer and I want to be a lawyer, I can take both of them, but probably law requires more of your time because it's about attending classes. The recent Supreme Court judgment also was very clear on one thing, that students of law have to attend classes. So there was a question where they were challenging that, 75% attendance, why is it important? And for 2 weeks, the Delhi High Court came out with a judgment that there is no need for attending classes, you can give exam. So there were some law school where the students were not even attending classes. But thankfully, in our campus, there were students who attended classes because the classes are interesting in law and they found it interesting. But that was the most irrational thing I have heard. And thankfully, Supreme Court wrote it off. And they said, see, like medicine, this is also a profession. What you will study in the class is what you're going to practice, research, and also make sense out of. So if you ask me, you have to give time in these 5 years. And beyond that also, everything else can run parallelly, but the prominence has to be given for your studies. And yes, it is academically rigorous. You have to study. Or else there is one way of doing it. It's the harsh way. And that's how a very famous Supreme Court judge put it, that if you attend classes, you can easily become that lawyer the first lawyer in your family who starts earning lakhs per appearance. If you do not read law, If you waste those 5 years, then you'll take 5 more years to learn law inside the courtroom. Because when you step in, you'll start as the most junior. And in law, seniority matters a lot. So it's that one of those professions where you have to give your 100%. So, that's my very, very frank answer to this.
Thank you. Thank you for that honest answer.
And thank you so much on behalf of guiding teens as well as all the parents. I can vouch that we didn't feel like we were talking to a representative of a college, but somebody who really deeply loves that profession and
Right.
wants that profession to really do well and the right set of people to come in there. That's how we experienced you and this entire talk. I
Thank you
think
so
you
much.
gave us right from what does it take, what kind of interest would you need to have, to the last answer as well, where you're like, think of law as a lifetime kind of a thing. I think we've really enjoyed it. Ramya, thank you for bringing up the portability question. I know how many questions parents would have on that. That was also extremely helpful. Thank you for stepping out of BITS law and giving us a real sense of a legal profession. Much
Thank you.
valued. We couldn't have got this anywhere. Deeply value your time, and we will share this recording widely.
That was also important for us, believe me, because this generation of students, I call them the flip generation. In 3 flips, they understand everything. And we cannot go ahead and tell them all about bits. It's about telling them about the profession more, probably, so that they can go and further research. So we do not speak much about bits law. It's like, go research and find out. Because what we have done is we have put all those things on our social media pages, on our website. It's about you to research. That's the first test of becoming a bits law student.
I am definitely going to send this recording to my daughter. On that note, thank you so much, Mr. Deepu. Thank you very much for spending time with us. Thank you to all the parents who joined and to the Guiding Teens team who created this platform. Thank you very much. Thank you,
to
everyone.
all of
Thank
you
you so
for
much, Deepa.
giving me this
Thank you.
audience also. Yeah, take care.
Yes, thanks everyone. Bye.